The Human Resource Specialist, Miss Whatcha Roslyn. Whatcha or Whatcha. Pleasure meeting you. The humanitarian, Rotarian and businesswoman, Miss Kadla Nabakembo. Ladies and gentlemen, Naimwani Zikiriza, even the gentlemen, you should be addressed as ladies today. So, ladies, I had a rumor that I had been invited to this city. I should say I had a rumor. And out of curiosity, I decided to put everything aside and come and find out if indeed I was invited. On arrival here, I was given this invitation letter, which confirmed my invitation. So I think you can realize that indeed I had a rumor, and I acted on a rumor. So it's because of even that rumor that I didn't feature in Kororo, because the minister had invited me for Women's Day, and I was curious to find out. The other invitation I received to Kororo, but this one I didn't receive. So I was curious to really find out if I was invited to this honorable city. And I really want to thank you for the invitation. So allow me the singular honor to say that if Irene had told me that the sitting was about sharing experiences for personal growth, maybe I would have come prepared differently. But this morning I sat down and prepared something to share. Where I come from, you know what to expect, but that is what I had to craft to also ensure that I keep myself in check. If you left a politician to speak at large, I would speak for 3 hours and summarize by saying with those few words. So allow me to stick to the prepared script that I did this afternoon. In fact, I was assisted by my driver to type it. So I hope he did what I really wanted, though I even had to sit down here and go through lots of corrections. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me the singular honor to appreciate the organizers of this Women's Tea for having found it worthy to invite me to join you this evening. I don't take it for granted, and I really thank you so much for the gesture. For avoidance of doubt, many of you have had different speakers refer to me as Honorable Ambassador. My names are Ambassador Barbra Nekesa Oundo. I'm a former Member of Parliament. I'm a former Minister of State in the Cabinet of Uganda. I'm a former Ambassador to the Republic of South Africa, representing the Southern Africa but based in Pretoria. But currently, I serve as the National Treasurer of the National Resistance Movement. It's one thing, you know, the Baganda have a better saying where they say Mulaba Bizimbe. But it's okay, it's okay. In most cases, we survive on perception. So allow me also to congratulate all of you upon marking yet another great day of importance and significance in the lives of all women as we continue to make the world a better place. Today we continue to remind ourselves of the immense contribution to the well-being of our families first and foremost, which is ideally an integral part of society. And resultant of our efforts, our role towards economic development of our country remains immeasurable. We therefore continue to make the call to men and women who occupy positions of influence to always prioritize women empowerment agenda if the country is to maximize on the potentials of women in nation building. Previously, ladies, women's contribution had been limited to household chores. However, we now appreciate the NRM government for the gender-sensitive policies that it has continued to put in place, not only to open doors for the girl child, but to also increase women's participation in decision-making. We now have equal access to education, coupled with the 1.5 points added onto girls for entry to universities. There is equal access to credit facilities, putting in place initiatives like the Women Fund and the eligibility of women to own property in our country. We also have equal access to public service jobs for empowerment on merit. I think we need to underline the merit.
Yeah. Yes.
Political placements like that of our now Vice President, the Prime Minister. We have women as Deputy Prime Ministers. We have women as ministers and ministers of state. So many of us, the number keep increasing at each pronouncement by His Excellency, and this puts women in positions where they are able to define our destiny. We now have the liberty that has also been given to the women to join security forces, to foster the internal security of Uganda, and also defend our territorial integrity in itself, and from my point of view, is an achievement. Uganda has the first ever Army General on the African continent, and this is General Nareso Proscovia. Women have continued to enjoy political participation, as our representation isn't only limited to directly elected seats, but also the special interest category of women representation at all legislative levels. You know, when people talk about Rwanda being more gender sensitive, Rwanda does not have provisions of the affirmative action. Yes, women can participate, but it's only on all, in fact, all the seats are directly elected. So women compete on those. But when it comes to Uganda, we have an opportunity to even contest on directly elected seats. You beat a man to it, you go ahead and represent. And as you have won the directly elected seat, there is also another woman who is coming from the same area, now representing the women from that interest to grow. So we really have to appreciate these efforts that have enabled our women achieve this level of empowerment. I'm confident that if such interventions are strengthened to achieve the intended purposes, the women of Uganda shall move Uganda to a middle income status sooner than we expected. All in all, the perception about women has shifted from the traditional housekeepers to now partners in nation building. The saying that women run the world is coming true each passing year. But as women, we need to solve our social problem. I heard this come up from the previous speakers. We have a social problem of not being able to notice stronger capabilities in our fellow women and supporting nurture them for the bigger good of all of us. The mother of empowerment, I think this was mentioned by Juliet, the mother of empowerment is helping each other to stand out in different fields, taking advantage of our numbers as our niche. Because take an example in our world of politics. Women usually outnumber the men wherever we are. But you find yourself vying for the same seat with men, then a man has to come out victorious. You have lost a seat, and yet you have people who understand you, people who know very well that you're in the best position to speak for their aspirations. So we are still lacking in the area of supporting our own, supporting people who understand what we go through. This is what Juliet was trying to stress. You are in a work environment, you're explaining I cannot make it because I have a sick child, but the lady boss does not seem to understand. So when we look at ladies, we see people who really understand us, people who know not even any lessons about empathy, but they are us and we are them. So supporting such people, supporting our fellow women, we really think if we worked on this, it can get us very far. As for investment, it shouldn't remain a mirage. Some of us have even coined the thinking that having a white skin is a prerequisite to becoming an investor. We as women of Uganda need to form 60% of the local investors component. Yes, we have those who come from out the cherry pit, now who have made our people think that to be an investor you must have. And some of them are working in your shops. Indians, Chinese, but they are working for you and you're paying them. So them being white does not qualify them being investors. So we as women of Uganda need to form 60% of the local investors component. The tendency of consuming all our earnings, especially we, the salaried earners, is suicidal. I once had a colleague at my previous station of work, that was Pretoria. He was a gentleman from Busoga. He told me that my number one target, he would come to my office and speak Lusoga anyway, not English. He would come and tell me that my number one target as a salaried earner is to create another source of income that gives me monthly returns which are either equal or more than my monthly pay. Wow. Adding that will be the only guarantee to a stress-free life if I may have left the office. I added that piece of advice to the 10 commandments, the biblical 10 commandments, and believe me, you from then, the spa girl, I have a spa I normally go to behind Bank of Uganda, I think. Yes, on Equatorial Mall. Grand Imperial. Behind Bank of Uganda. The spa girl that usually massaged the stress out of my face when I was in Parliament. She now asks where the stress went. Wow. But I think it was that piece of advice. There is nothing as stress relieving as financial independence. Yeah. So we really need to work on that. You are employed somewhere, save something for reinvestment. You are running a business, still out of the business, calculate the profit, calculate the source, and put aside something for reinvestment. Build empires, build chains. It all comes from such practices. Lastly, for us to remain exceptional as women, generation after generation, we need to teach our little girls. I forgot to mention that I'm a mother. I'm a mother of 4 and still counting. I'm not only smart today, but I'm taking care of the comfort of so many people. Yeah. So, I think you know what that means. Yes. Organize a baby shower very soon. Once again, lastly, if we need to remain as exceptional as we ought to be, generation after generation, I call upon us to teach our little girls that the choices are 2. To either choose to go back to safety or move forward towards growth. But growth must be chosen over and over again. Then fear must be overcome over and over again. Thank you for your kind attention. Happy Women's Day.